reality therapist perception.
Bachelorette. Hello and welcome back to Reactivity TV, where we give you our therapist take on all things TV and sometimes movies. And this week we are wrapping up with You Season 4, Part 2. And yeah, we got a conclusion to the season and maybe the series, I think.
No, not the series. Oh, as far as I know, I think I saw that Penn Badgley said something about he wanted Joe to get what
he deserves.
Yeah, what he needs in season 5. Yeah, what he deserves.
Interesting. All right. Okay. Interesting take. What are your thoughts? What are your therapist thoughts about what we saw?
Well, can we just talk about Tanya? I just feel so bad. That was so terrible. She was like on it. And like maybe it was a little karma because she didn't just go to the cops to begin with. And I was like, oh, well, you're screwed now because Joe got to you.
Yeah.
But wow, that was so upsetting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting, like trying to, because as I believe Joe told us, Tanya was still in prison, refusing to speak. And so I imagine she's trying to protect Marianne, right? By not speaking. I don't know, though.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But really tragic for her, tragic ending.
Yeah. And like, I texted or I messaged you at like the beginning of me watching and I was like, this isn't good. And then I get to the next episode and I was like, okay, wait. Something just happened. This just got wild. And then I ended the show so angry. Like I'd never been so mad at a show before.
What made you angry?
Joe gets away with everything, right? But now he's gotten away with everything and he's going to continue to get away with everything because now he has all the resources in the world to do that. So I'm sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not the ending or the outcome I was predicting, nor am I satisfied with. Like, there was a part of me that like did want him to kind of get away with it somehow, but not in this way. Like, I wanted him to like have to go underground, like Dexter style, like go be a lumberjack in a far off land and don't disturb anybody because you clearly can't control your impulses. But that's not what happened.
No. Okay. Also, really funny you made a Dexter reference because in one of my reactions I want to bring up was about like a similarity between the two.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay. So it's mainly about like the role of a conscience and how in Dexter's dad is his conscience and he's always checking in with his dad, even though his dad's passed away. And so he just envisions talking to his dad and how his dad would keep him in line because his dad was the one who, taught him the whole code for people that haven't seen Dexter that like, you can kill people, but just kill all the bad ones. So Dexter's dad we'll say keeps him in line in air quotes because he still goes out and kills people. But as far as the show goes, right? So that was really interesting that that Rhys wasn't playing that part for Joe. It was like the antithesis of that. And it was bringing Joe to, I guess, like who he really is and just bringing light to all of the bad. Because, you mentioned this in the last time we reacted to part 1, how Joe just likes to justify everything that he does and likes to make excuses and likes to say like, this is the last time and I'm never going to do this again. And I'm good. I like this just happens to me. It just finds me. And now you have Rhys, not really Rhys, but Rhys's character, the actor who Joe is seeing that is telling him who Joe really is. And he can't avoid it anymore. So it was an interesting take on how somebody could, be in their head compared to the way it was in Dexter.
No, it's really true. Yeah. And it was almost as though in certain aspects, like Joe was playing the conscience to Rhys, or to like Joe's like kind of like
Yeah.
alter. And that was really interesting to kind of watch play out as, Rhys is embodying like this dark, to again Dexter referenced the dark passenger inside of inside of Joe, and it was a little bit heartbreaking at times. And again, I guess maybe I have like too much empathy in me, but like it's like you could see in his mind Joe really believed he was trying to help and like trying to do good, and like didn't want to be this person anymore. And Rhys made him confront the fact that like, no, this is very much who you are. And I guess that's Joe gets to the point of acceptance at the end of the season of like, yeah, this is just who I am, and this is a skill that I have, and this is a way that I can help people. And big rationalization there, but having kind of that duality between Joe and Rhys, like again, had him confront this part of his personality that he really wanted to deny.
Mm-hmm. Right. And if we're not talking murder, if we're not talking doing really, really terrible things to people, then it's actually like a really good thing for somebody to come to for flaws that they feel like they have, and then they actually end up accepting them and learning to live with them.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's not so great.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting, and it is such a good example. There's this saying, wherever you go, there you are. And it's like you really can't escape yourself. And even though we might try to avoid things, people, aspects of ourselves that we might not like or might not quite understand, they still show up in our lives, whether we want them to or not. And again, this is such a hyperbole of that, like such an exaggeration of that, but it is true, like that our self finds us whether we want it to or not. And Joe really didn't want it to, but he couldn't escape who he was.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. What did you see?
I was thinking, I love, my favorite episode of this part was the third one. So whether the episode 3/8, however you want to look at it. And I loved it so much because it was not only told from Marianne's perspective, which that was that one. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting to hear. But I specifically wanted to point out that there are 4 different fear states: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And we saw Marianne go through each of those fear states as she was kind of getting captured by Joe and then kind of like held prisoner. We saw her, literally fight him to try to get away, try to get to safety. Again, like these are instinctual things that turn on in us when we're faced with danger. We also saw her freeze, like shut down, not be able to like really engage. She completely shut down. Flight could also be interpreted in a couple of different ways, where she's like really off in her imagination and really kind of, we watch her like kind of curate this story, this fairy tale with her daughter. That's a way that people can exhibit flight. And then we see her fawn. That's kind of like her last resort is, maybe I need to convince him that like, I still love him, or like that I'll be nice to him. Even I think her daughter says that, like, you're being like really mean to him. Like maybe you should be nice to him. And we see again, it was such a good exemplification of these different fear states that I wanted to point out. And while a lot of them are, again, instinctual, you have your first reaction when faced with something stressful or traumatic, like her, it was fight. And then if those things don't work, that we adapt and we try other ways to get ourselves to safety. And so I thought that, again, Marianne did such a good job of displaying the 4 fear states.
Right. Oh, it's so true. And yeah, she got really strategic. I mean, clearly ended up getting away, which was amazing. But I wonder about like the fear state she must have been in when Tanya found her and she didn't want her to go to the police, that she was so overly afraid that this wouldn't end. And like logically that was the way to go. And like she would have gotten away and like Joe would have gone to prison. This would have ended. Wouldn't have made for great TV. Get that. But like how much fear that she must have had to have come to that conclusion as the most rational one, that he will never stop coming after her and that this will never end. That it was like, oh, I mean, I don't know if like that's even, what do you think, like that's another version that she was taking up here? Like, was that one of them?
I would guess yes. And whether that's like, maybe that's a little bit of flight in some way in trying to, I don't know, I guess like, because as I'm just saying this out loud, like it does feel like she was so scared, not really thinking logically or rationally, which of course happens. But also to her credit, or like to build like her reaction a little bit more, think about what he did in the last season. He faked his own death. He murdered his wife. He convinced the world that he was dead. So like he is capable, and he tracked her down in another country, in two other countries actually. And so like I could understand why she'd be so fearful of him of evading the police. He is in his own way very wolfish and like charismatic, and so I get it. And so like I understand why that might have been guiding her decision about don't call the police. It was not the most logical, and probably had enough evidence stacked against him to get caught. And that really put Tanya in such a difficult position around what to do.
What would you have done?
Oh, God. I think I would have, you know what it was just making me think of? I was thinking, this is like a very different example, but I was thinking about like as therapists, right? Like we're mandated reporters. And while like when someone might tell us something that has happened to them that like puts them in danger, and they're like, don't say anything because it's going to make it worse, or they're going to be mad at me, or they're going to be mad at you. Like, you can't say anything. Like there's still that part that's like, no, it's my responsibility. It's my job to make sure that you're safe. And like, I know that like it might cause some like friction between us potentially, but I'd rather have you safe and alive than another outcome. And so I feel like there's a part of me that really wants to believe that I would call the police, like, and make sure that I would do it like with all my ducks in a row. But yeah, I think I'd want to call the police strategically. Like I probably wouldn't immediately pick up the phone and call 911. I'd want to be a little bit strategic around when. What about you?
Yeah. I would hope that I would want to, that I could be strategic about it, but I feel like I would immediately call that.
Well, I would also never 100%. Put myself in a position where it's like, I think my professor's a murderer. Let me go snoop around their house. That I would never do. I'm too scared. No.
Yeah, way too scared.
She put herself in a lot of danger.
Yeah, way too much. Well, we'll see what happens in season 5. And I wonder how how all that will work out for him.
I wonder, but something tells me it'll work out just fine. And, selfishly, I love Penn Badgley, so I wouldn't hate seeing him in another season as Joe. But yeah, I guess we'll see what unfolds. But we will be back with more episodes of Reactivity TV. We have lots coming up on the Bachelor end, like Fantasy Suites and the finale. We also have Succession coming back, which we are really excited about. We have a cool episode coming your way to recap Succession and talk about the family dynamics there. So keep keep subscribed, keep following along, and also comment below of what shows you might want us to react to next. Bye.